is it wrong to have too many images of Jesus? Is that considered idolization or idolatry, I guess would be the word? Well, I honestly have a picture of Jesus in my bedroom that my father had. He had it prepared for me, and before he even gave it to me, he died. And my mom wanted to give it to me after his death. And it was a picture of Jesus that I cherish because it was done by an artist who had taken the whole book of Mark and had written out the entire book of Mark in such a way where he thickened the letters and so forth, done in the 1950s before computers, and he made it so it looks like the image of Jesus. And so it's like the book of Mark, Jesus in the book of... But the image of Jesus is European. It was an Asian guy, actually, that did it. But the image there is one of those Western, medieval, European pictures of Jesus. We honestly have no idea what Jesus looked like. He looked very different from the images, any of the images we have of him. He would have had, if he was a first century Jew, he would have had a rounded face, would have been dark complected. He would have had short cropped hair. We have no archaeological evidence of any man with long hair in that era. It was only Nazarites that would have had long hair. So Jesus wouldn't even have long hair, believe that. So he would have looked very different. I don't think it's wrong to have images that might portray scenes and things that would remind you of the kind of person that Jesus was. But the Bible is pretty clear. We're not ever to use any kind of image that replaces our God or that takes us out of seeing him as a spirit. That's the second commandment, not to raise up any graven images. And the whole Jesus' conversation with the woman at the well, he said that we worship God, we worship him in spirit. And so I think we ought to be careful about allowing for any kind of an image. We ought never to bow down. I know that some people pray to figurines and so forth of saints and that sort of thing. That is directly contrary to the second commandment. So we've got to be very careful about that. Instead, we go directly to our God through the person of Jesus, and he is a spirit that we worship. He is a person, but not an image. I think that can very quickly become idolatrous. Along with that, there's a related question somebody had asked also last time. We're not going to flash up here, but I think it is related. When someone asked why we don't have a cross in our church. And we actually do. A lot of times we have it standing up over to the side here. There is a cross that's on the wall back here that's now covered up with this curtain. And we don't see anything wrong with having a cross. Now, there are some cultures. In fact, it was a struggle when Costas Poderosos began here worshiping, because in Mexico, Christians do not want except for those that are part of Catholicism, but anybody that's in an evangelical group will not worship in a place where there's a cross because they see it as idolatry. So some have trouble with it. Now, I don't. I mean, I've got a cross on around my neck right now. But for us to make too big of a deal out of it, that's where I think we can have problems. You think about the logic of this. Why would we use an execution symbol as what we rally around? We don't have indication in the New Testament that the cross as a symbol was such a vital thing or so important. If you had a loved one that died by hanging, you wouldn't keep a noose around as a memorial. Now, there are some things about the cross of Christ that he said we were to bear his cross that I think that can be helpful for us. But again, it's not the cross that's so important. It's the God that we worship and serve. And so we don't think it's wrong to have crosses. It's not necessary to have them either. And so sometimes there's a cross in here and sometimes there isn't. Hope that settles that.